Later on in the France 24 debate, we'll be asking, did Emmanuel Macron's gamble pay off or backfire when back in January he decided to keep schools and the economy open? France bracing for what's effectively a third national lockdown. Joining us now is Kate Moody from our business desk. Kate, these are sobering times in France.
Well, you've got a little pun there because the additional announcement that came this morning from Prime Minister Jean Castex was that the consumption of alcohol in public places in France has now been banned. Now, that's because, especially in nice weather, we've seen crowds of people gathering with takeaway drinks in parks, squares, along riverbanks, or even on street corners. Now, as the country enters this third nationwide lockdown, that has been banned. French bars, cafes, and restaurants have been operating on takeout or delivery only since the end of October. Restaurateurs say the government is taking away one of their most lucrative offerings, and because of the short notice, it's leaving them with unsold stock.
Customers, especially young ones, come for alcohol. It's not worth firing up our ovens, all our kitchen equipment, consuming all that electricity to earn €200 a day. So we're going to close.
I feel we haven't learned from past errors. The last two lockdowns we were alerted the night before, and now they're doing it again, taking us for idiots.
While the World Health Organization has criticized the EU's vaccine rollout as unacceptably slow, the World Trade Organization is focusing its criticism on manufacturers. The WTO's managing director said pharmaceutical giants need to either speed up the pace of production or share their know-how so that both advanced and developing economies can benefit from the vaccines. Ellen Gainsford has more.
While richer countries are powering ahead with COVID vaccinations, concerns are growing that poorer nations are being left behind. So far, just 10 countries have administered 70% of all vaccine doses. The new head of the World Trade Organization has criticized the gap.
I think that the kind of vaccine inequity we're seeing is definitely not acceptable. That's what happened with HIV/AIDS, where we had to wait 10 years for people to get access to life-saving drugs. It happened with H1N1 vaccines, where rich countries bought up the vaccines and poor countries had none.
She argues that if pharmaceutical companies can't meet global demand, they should hand their research and technology over to developing countries so they can manufacture their own doses, praising AstraZeneca for its cooperation with the Serum Institute of India and calling for other manufacturers to follow suit. Although not all WTO member states agree that intellectual property rules should be dropped, France has come out against the idea.
Nous voulons accroître la production de vaccins, c'est la priorité absolue, faire en sorte que la vaccination puisse s'accélérer. Et par ailleurs, nous estimons que la propriété intellectuelle est un élément clé d'un commerce équitable à travers la planète.
Many developed countries have faced criticism for over-ordering doses. Some, including the UK, have pledged to donate their excess supplies, but only once their own populations are fully vaccinated.
Let's check in on the day's trading action now. The major European indices closed higher, gains between 1/4 and 2/3 of a percentage point by the close. Stocks were boosted partly by strong manufacturing data from the Eurozone, which grew at its fastest pace on record in March. Shares of Deliveroo slumped around 2% on their second day of trading in London. Wednesday's IPO saw them plunge 26% in the worst ever market debut in London's history. Wall Street's also trending higher. The tech-heavy Nasdaq leading gains up about 1.5% this hour. The S&P 500 has crossed over the 4,000 threshold for the first time. Investors broadly welcoming the promise of spending in Joe Biden's $2 trillion infrastructure plan and shrugging off his proposal to raise the corporate tax rate. Moving on to some of the day's other business headlines now. The number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits rose slightly last week to 719,000. The previous week's 658,000 initial claims was the lowest since the start of the pandemic. It's now been 1 year since claims peaked at an all-time high of 6.9 million in a single week. Nearly 19 million people are still claiming some kind of unemployment benefits. Danone has confirmed it will push ahead with 1,850 job cuts across the world, including around 450 here in France. The French food and dairy giant had announced the layoffs back in November. It has since seen its CEO pushed out by activist investors. And the world's largest chip maker is investing $100 billion to expand its research and manufacturing facilities over the next 3 years. The Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company said it was aiming to meet soaring demand amid a global shortage of chips, which is affecting industries from cars to smartphones. And Francois, I've been delving into that world of microchips and the problem of this shortage in this week's People and Profit. That's on our website right now.
And it's something that Joe Biden has been talking about there in that infrastructure development plan. Many thanks for that, Kate Moody. We'll have more business news for you later on. It's time now for sports. We say hello